Our first time attack official race, official competition is happening pretty soon. It's on May 13th, so we decided to go with WRX for the first session, and to get a little bit more ready, time to throw on some suspension. So we've got some G-Ready or Greddy, how we're gonna call it, coilovers, and really these are a KW shock, which is a one-way adjustable shock. It's adjustable right there, and then the rears are adjustable as well. And these have match springs front to back. They have 80 Newton meters per millimeter springs. It's about 450 pounds per inch, which is a definitely an upgrade over stock. And they have the adjustable camber plates in the front, which we're setting up and doing an alignment on. So we're gonna throw these bad boys on the car, make sure that the tires on there, which are pretty wide, fit properly. And of course, we're gonna need some adjustable rear camber arms to make the alignment work. So here we go. After installing a whole bunch of these KW suspensions that have the adjustable upper strut mounts for camber, so they all kind of work the same way. We've done them on our Focus RS, we've done them on our GTIs, now we're doing it on this car. So they all function the same way. And here's a little tip. They have basically they sandwich this mount in between this plate, which tightens on top, and then there's this little plate as well in here. So this is all machined to fit on top of this Strut, and there's a bearing in here. But what I found is that after some time and some driving, and maybe perhaps some grime getting in here, some moisture, they start to click when you go over bumps, and it's a really frustrating sound. And you don't want to take apart the entire suspension again just to do this afterwards. So I recommend taking this apart and lubricating these surfaces here, so that you don't have noises that happen afterwards. On our Focus RS, we had this noise, and we had to take it apart, pull out the shocks, and lubricate this, and then the noise never came back. So the old shocks are out of the car. It's a really easy job. You just have this line, this ABS line, you have this brake line that attaches to them, and then you have these 2 bolts here in a knuckle, and then you have these 3 bolts up here. So it's super simple to pull out the OEMs. We had a top hat that that actually added some caster and some camber already, which worked out really well, but wanted something a little bit stiffer. And here's the new assembly, and now it's just a matter of popping this back in. So the front should be in really quickly. And just like that, the new coilovers are in the front. So just maxed out the camber right off the gate. You can see that maxing out the camber is moving it in this direction, so moving the top of the strut inwards towards the engine. And we're gonna lock it in place. And these cars, of course, have a factory adjustable camber bolt. So we're gonna see if we can just dial in the final bit of the camber on the alignment machine using this bolt and keeping that top fully maxed out. Haven't set the right height yet, so we'll dial that in. But yeah, otherwise the front is done, and now on to putting in the rear. Now in the rear, we got the control arm out, so you can see the OEM shock is still in there, and we're putting in a control arm that has camber adjustable on the outside. I'll show you just a second. So this is still the OEM control arm, bottom control arm here in place. So we are replacing the OEM control arm, which is this, with an adjustable camber control arm. So the way that this is adjustable is that it's allowed to move in and out on this knuckle joint here. So it's done through a cam bolt. So basically the cam bolt, it allows this to lock into place and move with these adjusters. So there's the offset adjuster, and then it goes in here, one on each side. And as you turn this, then you're sliding the control arm and allowing you to adjust the camber in the back. So this is a necessity when you're doing the coilovers or really any suspension work on the rear of these cars, because even from the factory they're not even in terms of camber, and this gives you, in an OEM like fashion, it gives you the adjustability needed. The rear shock once out of the car is relatively straightforward. The only thing is that these coilovers do not come with the top hats. So if you want to save yourself the trouble of taking off this upper strut mount from the OEM shock than buy a brand new one. This is a really low mileage car in spite of some of the corrosion that you see on here. So we're gonna reuse this, but you can save yourself the trouble and just get a new one and drop it right in, and then it pops right back in. One small challenge is that if you're doing this as a solo job, the shocks mount right in there, so that's the tower right there, and you're gonna have a hard time holding onto it and placing it in here and then putting on the bolts inside. So maybe a two-person job, get a buddy in there, and that'll make it go much easier. So once you get the upper strut mounts onto the new coilovers, and tip for that, to get this nut off the OEM shocks, use an impact gun, because otherwise you're just going to struggle to get a tool in there. So just impact it off. And anyways, once you move this over, one little thing to note is the orientation of these mounts. There seems to be a particular orientation to them. So you see this like raised nub right here. So this one goes towards the rear of the car. There's also another small nub in here, and that goes towards the inside of the trunk. So rear of the car. The rear control arms are in, rather. And everything's tightened up. Alignment's not set yet, but that's what she looks like. And now it's time to set ride heights and then get it all ready for the alignment. The suspension's buttoned up, and now it's just a matter of getting it all aligned. But I'm pleasantly surprised to see that the car is not too high, not too low. It's just spot on, and there's no rubbing. So just dial this in and let's get ready for some time attack.